Elliot,
Hello.
have you gotten yourself ready to learn Chinese, buddy?
I know how to say ni hao and some naughty words I shouldn't repeat.
Well, it turns out we may be saying ni hao a lot more in the near future.
We didn't prepare this, by the way. That's
No.
a completely natural segue.
Yeah, it's a completely natural segue that got absolutely ruined by us saying it was a natural segue. Beautiful. Top 10. Because Valve have come out, and by Valve, I mean HLTV have reported that it seems that Valve is going to be, for the second major of 2024, like a whole ass year away, going to have the Perfect World Major in Shanghai.
Which is Perfect World was supposed to be the major allegedly this year until that was axed. It was sent to the FNS realm. They are finally getting the major that they quote unquote deserve, or was supposed to have. Yeah. Will you be going to Shanghai?
I will not.
Will you not?
No.
I'm weighing up my options.
I'll be going to Copenhagen, and I don't see. For you, Copenhagen's like a 20-minute flight.
It's 2 hours, but yes.
For me to do the first major of the year, we got to cross one Atlantic. For the second major of the year, I'd have to cross the Pacific, and that's one too many oceans for 1 year for me.
You wouldn't make a very good sailor.
No, I would not.
You can't even fly the seven seas.
I probably could. I don't think my wallet wants to fly.
Yeah, it's not unreasonable. I'm supposed to be buying a house at the moment, so
how's that going?
I've asked to view a place in the last few days, but
okay.
IEM Cologne's coming up, so I can't this week or next week.
There would be no house buying this week.
No.
There's another bit on this. I saw some takes about this on the internet. Some of them being that maybe this is a good thing, because everyone's worried about if you go and look at League of Legends, where they have events frequently in Japan and Korea and China, that North America gets basically fucked over in terms of being able to actually watch it, and it's not bad in Europe, it's just early, so it's like you start watching it at like 8 a.m. for you or something like that.
It's not good for me personally,
but yeah, because you run on American time.
Yeah, I mean, if I wasn't in Paris, I would have missed a lot of the games. So,
but that basically trying to resurrect the Asian Counter-Strike scene right as like CS2 is like getting into the thick of things, second major, kind of 1 year being out at that point, may be worth it. Only time will tell.
I think it's pretty cool to I also think it's cool to get it into a new country. China wouldn't have been my first choice, but I think it's almost never bad to spread to not only a new-ish market, but a very, very undoubtedly big one who also does love esports. Like,
yeah, I think
you know how big League of Legends is over there, and
yeah, I think your other two like choices there are Korea and Japan, which neither of which have any sort of Counter-Strike scene similar to China. Not that China has it has a Counter-Strike scene, and we've seen teams come from it, Rare Atom and Tyloo, and it's bigger than the other two, but I don't know if
I mean, Korea has about as much of a footprint on CSGO as Belgium did, and Belgium got a major, so
that's a good point.
All I'm saying is I would have loved a Tokyo major.
I would love a Tokyo major.
A Tokyo, bro.
I wouldn't have gone to Copenhagen. I would have just gone to the Tokyo major.
I would have loved a Tokyo major so much. I'm still hoping that there's one in the future. Singapore apparently was talked about for this year before it was cancelled.
Cool. I like the idea of Singapore.
I had a friend who lived there for a year and he loved it. It's like his favorite place. So, but yeah, I'm very tempted by Shanghai. We'll see.
All right. On this episode of Overtime and Inferno, we go through all of the IEM Cologne teams and play-ins and stuff and talk about how Blast is injecting 22 million euros into every economic event that it does.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. Good if you can get it.
And that's where we put the intro. Right there.
Do 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 do.
I don't remember what our intro music sounds like. It's been a while since I edited this intro.
No, I can't remember either.
I don't remember. It's good.
Yeah, so good we can't remember it.
All right, let's talk about Cologne, Cologne, men's perfume, the whole deal.
Köln, if you want to say it in German.
Cologne.
It's Köln. You have to sort of like... Yeah,
I feel like they just chucked like half the letters away from the way that the rest of us spell it and expect us to pronounce it the same, but not.
I will say they named it before we did.
Yeah,
this isn't on them. This is on us.
Come on, you got to remember America.
And we also put a G in there that you don't say, so it's not really,
Well, yeah. Well, you may not say it. I say Cologne.
There's somebody I used to follow on Twitter used to always spell it Cologne, and it just really irritated me, as you can tell, because it still irritates me now. And this was like 3 years ago that I noticed they did it.
All right, so there's two events going on that we'll talk about right now. We have the actual Cologne event, which has 8 teams already set in stone to go there. We'll talk about them very quickly now. And then there's the play-in event, which is all the teams trying to get in with those 8 teams to make the other 8 spots. Teams that are already through, already in the main event, already in the, I don't know if it's a Lanxess Arena or if they're doing this, already in Cologne. Heroic, Vitality, FaZe, G2, and Gamer Legion, Cloud9, and Na'Vi. No surprises there. It's all from, what is it? Heroic, Na'Vi, Gamer Legion, and Cloud9 are all from the ESL ranking system.
Yeah.
Gamer Legion being there from the major.
Yeah, well, they made the final, which is
hidden from the major. Yeah,
pretty
Vitality,
good, I would say.
I would agree. Vitality from Rio, ENCE from EPL Season 17, G2. I'm sorry, I said ENCE. I meant FaZe from EPL Season 17. G2 from Cato, and ENCE from Dallas. And then we have 16 teams trying to get in to the actual event itself. And these are the teams
which is starting today or tomorrow, as you hear this.
Tomorrow.
One of the two. Today,
as you hear, it's starting on Wednesday.
Yeah.
We could have just said Wednesday. That would probably have been easier. Starting on Wednesday, and the actual Cologne event will start this weekend on Saturday. And we'll go through for this weekend and next weekend. So we'll talk about all of it. Today we want to focus on the play-ins. That's the bit that we see now. There's some banger matchups to start. We have return of some teams that we haven't seen in a bit. So let's do a quick run through on the teams. Coming off a questionable performance at Blast, the newly European team Liquid.
Yeah. I don't know what to expect from Liquid.
We said good things about them in the last episode on Thursday. And then between Thursday and Tuesday, which is when we're recording this, they dicked themselves over and are now in the knockout stage, even though they got to the finals against FaZe in their group.
They just refuse to beat Astralis. Like, it doesn't matter who's on Liquid. Doesn't matter if they're American or not. Doesn't even matter who's on Astralis. They just always lose to Astralis. It's like a real mental block for the entire organization.
Coming out from their, also at Blast, Ninjas in Pajamas, a team in which I don't have anything good or bad to say about this team. This team just exists.
You know how you said last time, every time we expect an IP to be bad, they start being good. They qualified top of their group. Of course they did.
Yep.
It might have been the easiest group of all time, but they still qualified.
With some changes now, the next team on the list is Apex. They lost JL, obviously, to Na'Vi. And so they brought in Kakanito, who I believe last what were
He
they
was stood in for
in
ATK.
ATK? Yes, when ATK came
Um,
to Europe.
I think so. Obviously, Apex and Gamer Legion were the two big, major quote unquote overperformers. The two who underdogs who like ran through and did really well. Both obviously lost players. Gamer Legion are going to feel that loss a hell of a lot more than Apex, who I'm not sure have really downgraded at all.
I
Maybe that's insane to say.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. Like JL was obviously a very good player. He didn't show up in playoffs as much as he did in the group stages,
Yeah,
but I mean, if like Kakanito can be like 80% of JL, they'll be
I,
fine.
I
I
he might be better. I've only seen glimpses of
Yeah,
Cachanito, so I can't be certain that he's as good as I think he is. But JL, as you mentioned, did kind of just go missing a couple times in the major, and it didn't matter that much.
yeah.
And he was supposed to be like the star that team was built around.
Hmm.
Cachanito is probably about as good as JL's major performance, and Apex did perfectly fine at the major. Um, they kept Sticko, Jacame, and Nork, which was like the core of players
Yeah,
who have all played at the top level. They kept Kixan,
who's been
who,
playing really, really well.
yeah, and by all accounts seems to be a very good leader. And then swapped JL for Cachanito, which I'm not convinced is a downgrade. They should still be good.
Yeah, this team could do a lot of damage right out of the gate. We'll talk about them in
Conjunction.
conjunction with their matchups in a minute. Also off their run, there's a lot. There's four teams that are in this bit in Cologne that have had really good runs at the Rio Major that are coming back with like one or two changes. Gamer Legion obviously already into Cologne. They swapped Suhi for Bolt, and Neelan's in there now for someone that I'm forgetting. IM.
I am, yeah.
Yep. So Monty, next team on our list, who will not be the best Mirage team of the world anymore. I'm
Well,
sorry to say this.
presumably.
Well, they lost the best Mirage player in the world in
He's up there.
Boros.
He is actually up there, yeah.
And Bro, a Danish player who had previously played for Astralis Talent, has joined the roster.
Yeah, that move is out there.
It's a choice.
It's out there.
I
I don't know if it's good. I don't think I've ever seen
no,
Bro play,
yeah,
so
I
maybe he's a
I don't
god.
think that we'll talk about it more. Astralis fame, they're still kind of garbage unless they play Liquid, in which they're the best team in the world. We get to see new Maus, which should be interesting. That with Suhi back and Jimfat on the roster instead of JDC and Dexter, that team's all over the place.
Yeah, no idea what to expect from them either.
Zero. The first of the two Brazilian shuffle teams that we'll see in this event, Imperial, which if you remember last was Fallen, Cello, Bolts, Hota, and Vinny. It's now not Fallen and Cello, but Henny and Phelps. Yeah, Phelps was
Yes, I think
coaching.
so, yeah.
Yeah. And they brought back the Immortals coach of Zach. So that would be 3 of the 6 members of the PGL Krakow runner-up major team.
Yeah.
For some reason,
Brazil.
Brazil.
You can't dissect Brazilian team decisions because they don't make sense.
No.
And they never will.
Fnatic with their new look roster of fully international, bringing in Afro and Dexter in exchange for Nico Daz and Fasher. This also marks the move from Mezzi back to not being an IGL, and putting it onto Dexter. So hopefully Mezzi can be the player that he was on Cloud9 Colossus into the beginning of Fnatic when he wasn't playing IGL. The second of the Brazilian shuffle teams, the Fallen-led Furia team, if you didn't watch last week's episode of Overtime and Inferno where we talked to Swisher, um, we had some things to say about this team, and by we I mean Elliot had only good things to say about this team
Fury are winning it
ever.
all.
New look complexity with a liege who looked exactly the same as old look complexity.
Bedge.
Yep,
We don't stream on Twitch, so I can't ask you all to spam Bedge emotes. But if we did, I would be asking you all to Bedge.
Yep. Yeah, the team just didn't look any different. It looked like they had the exact same flaws, exact same stuff. It's what happened when you switch, when you just move a ceiling of one player up.
Because their biggest flaw will always be that they are American.
Yeah. 9 also from their run at the major is back. They have made.
Didn't really have a run at the major.
They did a run at the RMR.
Yeah, they did well at the RMR. They were good before that as well.
They have made absolutely zero changes, but they're back.
So.
Hades is ready to shit on every single European offer in the planet.
They have a nice opening game as well.
They do. We'll talk about it in a moment. Into the Bin have made 2 changes. They brought in Neofrag and Bemis for Volt and Cypher. This team is now
whole
European.
selling point is that they're English. And now they're not. Yep. I mean, even then, I'm pretty sure Volta said he's going to go back to a Romanian flag now. He's not on an English team. So they were only like English by technicality anyway. But
there's only one Brit on this team now.
Yeah.
And it's Thomas, which, to be fair, is the Brit holding the flag.
Yeah, he's also, I think he's very stereotypically English as a guy.
Yeah. Greyhound will be making their way up from Aussieland.
Again,
they did nothing over in the offseason.
Yeah,
the team has been the same for 7 years.
I really thought they would get Dexter, but I imagine the Fnatic offer blew them out of the water.
I'd assume that's probably true. And once Dexter moved to Europe, I think that it was probably realistic that he stays in Europe for a while, especially because other tier 1 teams will offer him spots.
I agree.
And while Greyhound is real good in Australia, they're not elsewhere, and the ability to compete for tournament wins is something you only get by being a tier 1 team in Europe.
Which makes the Fnatic move even worse.
Yep. Big will be playing with a altered lineup.
It's technically Big Academy, except it's just not.
Yeah, so
it's just Sensi instead of Mantu, I believe.
Yeah, so it's technically the people that won ESL Minor Shaft.
Meisterschaft, yeah.
Meisterschaft.
Which literally just translates as Master Team, by the way.
Which was Prosus, Crimbo, Sin, Sky, and Hyped. And so what they did was they brought in Sensei and Tabson in instead of Sky and Hyped. So that way it's still the same core of players that won Meisterschaft. Yep. But now they get to play under the regular Big name.
I'm pretty sure Big main team would have got an invite as the local hero, but they didn't because the academy team qualified, so they couldn't invite Big. I'm pretty sure that is because all the other events have a local hero invite, right? This one doesn't. Yeah. So,
coming in from Mongolia, a team we haven't seen in a couple minutes. The Mongols are back.
Yeah, I looked at their team the other day. No idea.
Yeah, they made some moves. Some stuff has happened. Annihilation's no longer there. Bartak's no longer there. We talked about Bartek getting replaced for his brother. It's all over the place.
They've added Mzinio and 910. 910, 910. I think 910 is a much cooler name, actually.
We'll go with 910.
Yeah.
It's like
I have no idea if they're any good. Absolutely not.
It's like whatever the Beverly Hills show is, 90210.
90210,
yeah. 910 is a much better name than 910 or something like that.
Yeah,
And then rounding out is the faltering OG who looked like shit at Blast.
that pretty much covers it. Yeah, they
Yeah.
didn't look
Okay.
good.
Yep. So let's get into the actual playing bracket. So we're um, every opening round is best of one. Every winners match will be a best of three. Losers matches will be a best of three. We're taking the top 8 teams that get through. So if you win a best of one, you got to basically win a best of 3 to get through. And if you lose any match, if you lose in your opener, you got to win 2 best of 3s to get through. Let's start at the top.
Yeah,
New Look Mouse Sports against the Mongols in a
you
best of
ha-
one.
you have to go with Mouse because uh, better the devil you know. Even though we don't really know Mouse, but I know I know all of these players.
Hmm.
They're probably pretty good. I mean, when you look at that Mouse team on paper, it's really good.
Yeah.
It's just how well does that translate? When you look at the Mongols team, I've seen Blitz and Techno play, and I know they're really good. I've seen Hasteka play, but I'm not convinced he is any good. And then Mzinho and 910 are massive question marks. I've just had a look. Mzinho is 16 years old.
Yeah.
He, I mean, his ratings aren't great, but it's also he's played about 20 maps in pro CS.
Yeah.
And he's been flown to Cologne to play on LAN. His first games against players like Frozen, Torzi, Suhi. Like
I'm in.
I have concerns. I have concerns, Mongol. Maybe he's amazing. He has had 6 positive maps in his
20
albeit
match
very
career.
short career. But like he went 4-20 against a team called Lord Rabbit in his most recent game.
Team's called Lord Rabbit.
They're called
Banging
Lord
name.
Rabbit. He went
Banging
4 and
name.
20 on map 1, 11 and 18 on map 2.
Absolute
Again,
banging name.
there's small sample size concerns, and he was on. This is only his third team. Wait, yeah, okay. So he's only been playing since the middle of 2021, and he's still only got about 20 maps. Again, he's 16 years old.
Again,
Maybe he's really talented.
let's go for the
I
fact that
have concerns.
he's so new that when you click on the match page on HLTV, it doesn't actually show his rating based on the past 3 months.
Yeah, he's only been alive about 3 months. He was
Well,
born in 2007.
well, I now understand why his most recent ratings won't show is because the last game officially he played was August of 2022.
Yeah,
I'm in.
yeah.
I'm in.
I have concerns.
I have many concerns.
It's very difficult to believe this Mongols team will reach even their own heights, never mind surpass them. As good
I'm
as
in.
Blitz and Techno are,
We need an Asian
this
super
team looks kind of dodgy.
We need an Asian super team. We got to get
The
Blitz and
problem is,
Techno from Mongols. We got to get Ben Tet back from whatever Tyloo hellhole he's in.
no, he's on.
Or is he on like JJ Fire?
No, they're called like. I'm gonna have to Google it. I know what team he's on. It's going to know NKT. That's it. I think it was N something. I can't remember.
Oh, he's on the actual Asian super team.
He's on some odd
him,
mixed team.
Exogen, Gratisfaction, Urcast, and Zerolti. It's like actually like an Asian super team.
Yeah, and with an average age of 26 and no upwards progression. The problem is that Asia is so big that finding a common language is already difficult.
Yeah.
Mongolian is absolutely nothing like any other language around it.
Yeah. Mao's win this game.
You would imagine so.
You would imagine.
Mao Sports are young, but they're not 16 years old with 20 maps on record, young.
And the last one played a year ago, young.
Yeah.
That's real young. Into the breach against Ninjas in Pajamas. This feels like the mid battle of Midway.
Yeah. I mean, putting aside in my inherent bias against somebody who moves away from England. Neofrag pre-OG was a very good player, and I've always quite liked Bemis as a player.
Yeah.
It's not like unforeseeable that this Into the Breach team are a solid team and a good upset team.
Yeah.
But you do have to think NIP will win. But that's like I hate making predictions involving NIP.
No, they suck. Convictions. Predictions of all the NIP are just impossible to make. I'd lean NIP officially, but like, would I be surprised at all in any given way if Into the Breach win this? Absolutely not.
The problem Into the Breach are going to have is that all of their upset wins were on Vertigo, basically. And NIP's Vertigo is not a good map for them. So they'll
Well,
almost certainly ban Anubis Vertigo and then like either Overpass or like Inferno or something like that, and just
even
leave them on a middle ground map. And
the problem is, even Into the Breaches, their Vertigo was so reliant on Cypher and the
that's
way that
also true.
Cypher
Yeah,
played, and that Cypher not being here anymore. We'll talk about where Cypher, what the Cypher news in a minute.
so we have to.
Later. Yes, we'll talk. We're gonna have to talk about it. That their Vertigo probably isn't even the same style of Vertigo as it was before, because you don't have someone who's mentally insane,
Yeah,
that's willing to do what Cypher does on a ramp. So unfortunately, I think this is an NIP dub.
yeah, probably.
All right, next one, Fnatic Complexity. I don't think that we can legitimately predict this. I don't think that there's enough brain cells between us. I don't think there's enough brain cells in the Counter-Strike community to be able to predict this.
I need to see Fnatic play before I decide anything. But I have initial concerns with this team, and I'd be very surprised if they. I'd be very surprised if I saw something from Fnatic that made me think Dexter was better than I already think, and that makes me think Afro is a tier 1 AWPer. I don't think Afro's bad, but the jump between tier 2 and tier 1 for AWPers is bigger than the gap between tier 2 and tier 1 for riflers. And we've seen a lot of players fail to make their jump. I don't think Afro's quite good enough for Fnatic.
Yeah. The problem is I don't know where Fnatic absolutely, I don't think probably went in the right direction with Afro, but like, I don't know what direction this team is all over the place, and I don't know what to think about it until we watch a solid like 7 years of this exact lineup. I need like the largest sample size known to humankind to make a decision on this team.
I still think Dexter should have made himself an AWPing in-game leader. I really do. I think it solves so many of the problems he has.
OG versus 9. I'm very excited for this match.
9 should win, right?
Yes, that 9 should win every day
OG
of the
have
week.
looked
9 should win.
awful at Blast, and they're just I don't know. 9 OG's problem always seemed to be that they had a sort of lack of structure. They didn't flash for each other very often. Kind of similar to Cloud9, like they were very reliant on taking space without util. And 9 are actually quite drilled, and I think 9 should just be the better team.
I mean, off the rip, OG has one player on its roster that has played for this team in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
And it's Fiku.
Yeah, that's also...
Because
like,
Nexo's
9 have
on
been
the
together
bench.
for a while.
Like,
that usually helps at first event back.
9 have been together for forever. They just had a decent run at RMR, and they had a pretty okay and reasonable group stage. OG wasn't at the major.
Yep.
Like, and it's a totally different team. And the players here that were at the major, so Fasher and Keto, was Keto at the major? I don't even know if Big was at the major.
I think so, but I don't.
But Fnatic didn't do particularly well with Fasher on it. So these players have been out of it for multiple months.
OG have so many questions to answer, and 9 is a tricky first game. Like they really could have done with the Mongols or somebody like that, like a Greyhound or something, to like just get a win, get a bit of momentum.
Next match, that's a 9 win. I think locking it in. Apex versus Big.
That's a tough one to call because we don't
Yeah,
really know what this big looks like anyway. Never mind with Sensi coming in.
yeah.
Um, I I
I
couldn't call that game. I
no. I mean,
absolutely no idea.
just
Apex
generically,
have it weirdly. Apex have the experience advantage in that game.
yeah. I don't know. Generically, I just put Apex above Big, but I'm a notorious Big hater.
Yeah, I don't really like Big either.
Um,
Um, but I do. I think Big can win that game, but I also think I wouldn't be massively surprised if Apex won it.
I think it could either go either way. It's probably 60-40 Apex for me, but I wouldn't be surprised either way. Um, I'm gonna skip the next game on the list because we have to talk about this in further depth. Monty versus Imperial. This I'd like to think that Monty wins this game,
I
but
would
like on
imagine
the
so.
other
It's
hand,
probably
like this is Henny's first bit back into tier one Counter Strike in a bit, and Henny has always looked good when he's been on a tier one team. There has never been a real time in which I've said Henny's not a good opper on a tier one team, right? It's always been other stuff that went on. And after he left Furia, he was still a good opper for like the lower Brazilian teams. Um, maybe Henny is able to do something here, but
I just hope that game goes to Mirage because it was always one of Monty's better maps. I don't think they'll get Anubis.
mhm.
And I love watching Phelps play Mirage.
Yeah. I
He's
also
like spawns in window on T side. It's amazing.
I think Mirage is also a good place to test bro because everyone knows how to play Mirage. There's not a person in the world that plays Counter Strike that doesn't know how to play Mirage to a degree, and you can see very quickly what the impact of not having Boros will be on Mirage.
Yeah,
Assuming you go like for like and Bro takes all Boros's roles, you're very quickly able to see how this lineup will be different than the last lineup, which
yeah.
we didn't see. We didn't have a huge sample size from the last lineup, right? But from what we saw, it was replicable. Um, Cats versus dogs, Furia versus Greyhound.
Oh, okay. I thought it was an intermission.
No,
Um, I prefer dogs, even though we're not going down. So I'm more of a dog guy, but I don't mind cats as well. Like I'm not one of the dog guys who hates cats.
okay. Except in this scenario, which you're definitely a cat fan
Yeah,
and not the
let's
dog
go.
fan.
Um, yeah, I mean, this is what I was just saying about OG getting they got a horrible start. Fury get a nice start. Like,
Yeah,
if you were hand picking a game, you're probably picking either Greyhound or the Mongols, and you get to start against Greyhound, get some blood flowing through your hands, get that nice easy 16-7 win. Simple.
yeah. So the match that we skipped, that I felt the need to skip, is because on paper this should go one way. In reality, it's going to go the other way. Astralis play Liquid in the opener,
Yeah, I
so this
it,
should be Liquid's game. There's no
yeah,
reason
it's
why
kind
it
of
shouldn't
pointless
be.
talking about this game because no matter what analysis
The script's been written.
you do, or anything you want to say about it, somehow Liquid will find a way to lose it regardless. Even if you can make an argument these two teams are kind of equal. Liquid obviously just made some changes, don't look completely set, and also there are question marks over this team. There are issues like Yukinda's in-game leading, etc. Astralis do have talent on this team. They do have like a legendary AWPer. They do have Stare, who's one of the best up-and-coming players in the region. They do have Blame F, who does put up these great numbers, and it should be a great game. But
But
Astralis will just somehow
this is
win.
going to be an Astralis
You
win.
know there's a very famous Gary Lineker quote that's like, "Football is a game of 22 men running around the football pitch, and then at the end, Germany win on penalties." And Counter-Strike is a game of 10 men running around the server for 30 rounds, and in the end, Astralis beat Liquid.
Yeah, that's really how this game is going to go. All right, let's wrap this section up with predictions. We need top 8 teams from these. I can give you the quick list.
I've
My
got it open.
well, not let me rephrase the quick list. I mean my quick list. It's going to be Mouse. It's going to be Nine. It's going to be Apex. It's going to be Astralis. It's going to be Furia. It's going to be Into the Breach, NIP, and Monty.
Wow, that's so. I would go Liquid, NIP, Mouse, Furia, Astralis, Apex, Big, Fnatic.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd like to let you know that one team of Fnatic, Complexity, OG, and Nine has to make it.
I think it'll be Fnatic. So I do think Mezzi is really good, and maybe top 3 or 4 players at the event,
In this
and in
section,
like the play-in bit. I think you're looking at maybe NAF, although I think Mezzi might be better than NAF. Device, maybe Frozen, and Fallen.
I'm sorry, K Serato.
No, Fallen.
You have so many choices.
Kisarato, yeah, no, Kisarato's fantastic. Yeah, but
Um,
he wasn't as good at the end of the last season,
yeah.
partially because Fury were a basket case, and partially they were a basket case because he wasn't as good.
Yeah. All right, we have one more bit for the show. There will be some group stuff this weekend for Cologne. I don't want to get super into it because we don't know half of the group teams.
Yep.
So we'll talk next week about what happened in the groups and what we're going to talk about in regards to playoffs. But we do want to talk about TSM, who for a while had said that they were getting into Counter-Strike. We all didn't believe them. You heard leaks, you heard roster rumors. We have what seems to be the closest source to saying this is the actual bit. TSM's rumored Counter-Strike 2 roster: Valda, Inters, Jax, Cypher, and Moto, coached by Exitaz.
What do you want me to say?
This roster's so fucking mid.
How many support players does one team need?
Wait,
You
what?
don't need.
There was another team that just got 17 support players. I mean, OG and TSM need to have a support off. Like,
Yeah.
how many supports can you have in one game and still win?
So instead of being called Team Solo Mid, they should have just been called Team Solo B Anchors, and just because they've just built a team of B Anchors. Like, Valde is a small site anchor. Cypher, even on Vertigo, his best map, was the B anchor for Into the Breach, and largely because apparently he wasn't as good online as he was offline.
Yeah.
Jax, small site anchor on G2.
Inter, small side anchor
Inters,
on 9.
yeah, he has like really odd spots, but
But
yeah, generally you'd think he's kind of
he
an
played
anchor.
East Side Overpass.
Yeah, but like on T side he would get like connect. I think he was mid on Vertigo, for example. Inters.
Yeah.
I'll check Harry's spreadsheet in a minute and have a look. But Valde is also in game leading this team allegedly.
Yeah, and then they're bringing in Moto, who like I have no problem taking a chance on a young, like someone brand new, but like this
I'm
is
not convinced. I don't like what I've heard of Modo hasn't been mind blowing. I've
yeah,
heard he's pretty solid, but nothing stands out.
like
I don't think this team will exist in that capacity for very long. I think it's them trying to get a couple of big names to get some sponsorships, and then they'll just go, no, actually, we're going to build around Cypher and Valde and kick Inters and Jax.
yeah. I mean, I like the idea of Cypher. Past that point where it's starting to get a little bit questionable.
So I think the idea is that Cypher and Valde are like the two like middle of the pack riflers. You have Jax as the hard entry on T side, Inters as like the like passive lurk.
And Moto is
I
the
suppose Valde is probably the aggro lurk. Moto is the AWP.
pass. Yeah.
Cypher a second man in.
I mean, I don't hate that, but like, I mean, okay, let's. I like the idea of putting Jax back to the hard entry role, because he played that for a bit for
Yeah,
G2
he's not
before
bad
they
at it.
bring him around. No, I think he's actually pretty good at it, but it's just not what he's known for and not what he's recently done. I like the idea of putting him back there, but this team feels like they're gonna have too many role conflicts in any given moment.
I feel like the T sides will be fine. I feel like they'll actually have okay T sides. I think those roles kind of make sense on T side, assuming Valde can call properly and is also still really good. Which, in fact, oh God, actually, if Valde's calling, I don't think he'll be the lurk. Which means Cypher is like aggro lurking or something.
Oh no!
Which seems, I mean, maybe it works, but yeah, maybe their T sides won't be as good as I thought. Their CT side roles are going to be screwed as well. Like, I don't know who's going to take star roles.
I don't know. I hate all of it. With that, though, we are going to get going for the week. We'll be back again next week. We're talking about groups. We're talking about playoffs. We're going to talk about some stupid stuff. I don't know. Probably. I can almost certainly guarantee it. But until that point, you can follow us on Twitter or X or whatever the fuck Elon decides to call it today.
Exweeters.
The Zweeters at Logan Ramhap, at AZS, and at Reed TLDR. Next week, we will have Cologne content out, a lot of Cologne content out. So normally we don't plug the newsletter, but go make sure to subscribe to the newsletter because there will be like, what are you talking about? One every day of.
So hopefully during playoffs, because we're on site, we're going to try and do a roundup newsletter each morning after playoffs. Hopefully.
Yeah. So make sure you're subscribed at readtldr.gg to see all of that information. But until that point, we'll be back again next week. See you.
Bye.